Good morning. Thanks for joining us on the Filipino Journal. I'm Joy Rivera Dodds. Joining us today is award-winning, best-selling author and proudly Filipino-American. Let's all welcome Geraldine Solon.
Hi, Joy. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much for gracing the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
It was so nice meeting you the other day dun sa ating Kalayaan Week workshop. You gave a talk. Ang galing-galing nyo ni Barry and Lily. Let's talk about your writing later. But first, kwentuhan mo kami about your community involvement, because obviously you are very active and you know you give talks and inspiration to Filipino Americans.
Well, actually, I'm a member of the California Writers Club, and I'm the treasurer and the event coordinator of the Fremont branch. And I usually give like workshops, and I also organize events, and that's my way of giving back, you know, like helping aspiring writers and how to achieve their dreams. So I'm organizing even an Agents and Producers Day this June 30, so writers can actually pitch their work to producers and agents, and that's our way of networking with the writing community.
What do they usually ask you? Yung community natin, ano yung curious sila about writing, about your craft?
Well, aside from writing, they also ask about the publishing parts, like, and they ask like, how long does it take for me to write a novel? How did I achieve my success? How did I promote it? Usually the basic stuff,
And lalo na sa Filipino events, pag when they realize na, aba, Filipino-American, kasi tisay ka rin, and then you start talking in Tagalog and you talk about your experiences, anong reaction nila?
Well, they're so amazed. They're like, how did you get to write this story? Did this come from your imagination? What inspired you to write this story? And I always tell them, I said, I always write about what I care about, which is love and relationships and, you know, with people. So I tell them how I all started, and they're just so amazed, like how I could do this, and they want to buy the book. And,
well, how did you start? Who is Geraldine Solon? At saka, you know, when did you start getting interested in writing?
I started writing when I was 8 years old, but I started writing poems and short stories. And then I put it in the back burner, you know, because I mean, everybody says, oh, there's no money when it comes to writing and all that. So I tried other stuff and working and got into business. And then when I came here to the US, which is 2001, it kept, like 10 years ago, it kept haunting me. I mean, this is what really, it's what really part of my soul, you know. It keeps me so passionate. It makes me happy. And so I started writing again. I said, you know, I think I can write a book. Especially these characters keep talking to me, my imaginary friends. So I started writing children's books. But then I felt like the attention span for kids, it's difficult to write for them because their attention span is actually faster, right? Like you have to keep the momentum going. So I decided to write about love stories and romance and women's fiction, because that's what I really care about. And it came naturally to me. I found like it was my higher calling.
Do you find na yung atmosphere dito sa US, mas conducive ba, mas encouraging ba sa writing?
I think so, because there's a lot of nature, and I love nature. Like I like to walk around their parks where you can go to their lakes, you can travel, and the atmosphere here is like everybody's working, you know, like you're really in work mode. The Philippines is all like partying, and you have so much time to relax. Your brain is not really working, you know. So and then you meet so many people, and you tend to be observant as a writer. You know, you take a step back and you see things differently, because it's like an artist. Like now when I look at the trees, I tell myself, oh wow, look at the texture of the trees, the color, or the wind. Does the wind blow this way? And how people talk. I observe them. You know, it's like it's deeper. You know, you kind of deepen as you go. Yeah.
Was there a specific moment in time, yung turning point, when, because you said nga you migrated here, so syempre life as we know it. Ano yung certain point in time that you decided na, okay, I'm going to be a writer?
I think it was when I moved here, and then I started working. My son was still young; he was 5 years old, and I found like I had so much time in my hands while he was in school, and I would pick him up, and so there were so many, like my imaginary friends started talking to me, and that's where I found my true calling and started writing and writing. I wrote, would you believe, in one day 10,000 words, and I just felt so alive, and I mean that's a lot of words, right? So many pages, but
Yeah.
I felt like I could do this, and each time I would read it, I'm like, I can't believe I wrote this, you know? So I started getting serious about it. In the beginning, I started as a hobby, but then I got serious and I worked with a writer's coach. So when I produced my book, Love Letters, I made sure it was within publishing standards, like, you know, all the editing and my writer's coach is like a developmental editor, so she really examined like character, voice, you know, point of view, and looking at the bigger picture.
How do you find a coach? Is there a certain group?
Well, you can look on,
research?
you research, or you can look online. And of course, it's always good to get their references. So this lady that I worked with, she used to freelance for like agents and also big publishing houses like Random House. So she really, you know, us writers were on the other side of the fence. So she really knew what the publishers required and what agents required. And since I was so serious about my craft, I might as well, you know, do the best and keep it within publishing standards, right?
Yeah, yeah. And yung support system mo, like your husband, your son, your family, your friends, how did you break the news, so to speak? At saka ano yung reaction nila?
At the beginning, they were like, oh, I didn't know you could write. You know, my friends especially, you know, they know a different side of me. I didn't know. My family always knew that I loved writing, but they thought I was just doing it as a hobby. But then I said, you know, I think I'm really serious about this craft. This is what. So they were like so excited. Oh my gosh, I want to read your book, you know. And then, I mean, it's so profound and all that. And this is a different part of you. But, you know, this is me. This is really what I'm passionate about. I mean, next to motherhood, I believe that writing is the best job in the world because you create your own characters, you bring them life, you breathe the fresh air for them, and they take a new life, you know. Even if you give them life, they follow its course, right? So it's exciting.
So true. I read the first few pages on Amazon, and I can't wait to get a hold of my copy.
Of Love Letters?
Yes, yes, of Love Letters. Dun sa process, what were your challenges? I'm sure naka-encounter ka rin ng, you know, hardships. Were there times na parang you questioned yourself if, you know, this is the right path?
Well, especially when I started submitting to agents at that time, you know. So the agents, I got a lot of rejections, but then people wanted to look at I had like 15 agents who look at the full manuscript. So that means that there's emerging talent. But then the economy was so bad at that time. So even after 15 agents took a look at it, they passed. And so I decided to, you know, there was 10 months of waiting. I decided to submit to a mid-sized press that doesn't require an agent. And then 2 days later, she gave me a contract. So, you know, that was a big challenge, big waiting, patience, and all that. And I was ready to give up. I was like, oh my gosh, you know, what am I going to do? Am I going to tuck this under my bed? But I wanted to share it with the world because I believed in my product. And I'm glad I did.
Yes, I'm glad you did.
I'm so glad I did.
And I'm sure yung ating viewers din. Kasi part of the reason that I invited you here, kasi magsa-summer na, and I know a lot of Filipinos write, lalo na yung youth, di ba?
Yes,
para ma-inspire din sila. How about your triumphs? Tell them about yun among the sweet moments.
Oh, okay. So when I released Love Letters in January, after January, I released Chocolicious, which was in July. And then I started really heavy marketing my books. And 3 months later, both my books made it to the bestseller list on Amazon. Yeah, so it was like the top 100, like number 69. The other one was number 71.
Oh, wow.
So it was, and then I also won awards for Love Letters. Won the Beach Book Festival under the romance category. And it also made it to finalist for the Global eBook Awards. Yeah. So, and now it's being made into a movie.
Congratulations. Well,
Thank
let's
you.
talk more about that. We have to pause for a break.
Okay, thank you.
Don't go away. back with Geraldine Salon, best-selling author of Love Letters and Chocolicious. Title pa lang, ang sarap-sarap na. Tell us about your work. Talk about your work.
Okay, so Love Letters is basically about second chances. So I was really toying with the idea that, you know, not everybody gets to marry their true love, but what if they were given that second chance, right? And people can really relate to it. And Chocolicious is about love, loss, and a mother's sacrifice. It's more dramatic. You know,
Okay.
Yeah, and then my upcoming novel, The Assignment, which I'm going to release this week, is actually set in the Philippines. So this is really exciting because I want to reach out to the Filipino community. And so it's about love, betrayal, and forgiveness.
And what's the title of
The Assignment.
The Assignment.
Yeah.
And I hear Love Letters is being made into a full-length film.
Yes, it's being made into a movie. It's actually an independent film, but they're filming it right now in Texas. So hopefully by next year it will be done and I can join the festivals and look for a distributor to show it in the theaters.
Geraldine, I'll ask about writing, no? Fiction, non-fiction, how do you know kung ano yung specialty mo?
I would say fiction because I have a wild imagination, you know, so you have to have that wild imagination, creativity, and that's the magic thing. That's a magical thing about fiction. You get to use your imagination, you get to create your own characters, you can, you know, go in a certain direction. With nonfiction, it's more technical, right? It's like you're using your mind, while fiction, it's more emotional.
But do you read everything that you could get your hands on? You also like reading?
I love reading nonfiction, and I also always try to read different genres because that's the way you can tell about their styles and how you identify your own style. But they say you write what you know, okay? But it's not only what you know, but I believe you write what you care about. So I care about love, and I care about relationships because every day we have relationships with people, with our parents, with our sisters, our brothers, our children. So that matters, right? I mean, it can affect your way of life, the relationships that you have with each and every one of them, right? So
ang ganda when you say na what you care about. So, and also when you talk about love, of course, you have your experiences, what you hear from your friends, what you read about. Meron din bang, do you need to consult with specialists like family and marriage therapists? How's the process?
I've never really done that. I mean, I can say I'm a hopeless romantic. That's why I write about those things. But even when I was young, people would always ask me for advice about relationships. And then they would tell me, you know, you should have been a psychologist because it's like you know how to analyze things. So right now, I think I apply those themes and life experiences with my relationships, so I apply them through my stories, and you know, you get to be more objective, you get to learn more about people while dealing with them, and that's why I like to write things that are realistic and contemporary, because I don't want to write something out of this world where people cannot relate to, right? So it's more for like today's times.
And I read, I think on your website, that concurrently you write several books at the same time.
I do.
How is that?
Because sometimes I get writer's block with the other one, or I get so excited and there's another idea that I have to start writing. And it works for me because, you know, I always look at my stories in a fresh way. I don't want to be redundant. I don't try to use the same characters all the time. I always make them different. So when I'm writing another book, it's like, wow, it's like fresh eyes again, and you get the excitement and the energy. So it really works for me. And
how do you decide what to write about?
It just comes to me, like with Chocolicious, I was craving for a chocolate cupcake one day. It was so strong, my cravings, that all of a sudden a woman in distress flashed through my mind. And the story began to unfold, and I knew that chocolate had to be the saving grace of the story. I mean, just for an ordinary situation. So that's how it came to me,
Are there instances na you start writing, you have this idea, and then hindi mo siya natutuloy, and then you put it in the back?
Oh yeah, you know what has happened? This book, The Assignment, one of the characters there, I made her a male. But after 120 pages, all the female hormones started shouting at me and said, you have to make this character into a female. And it worked. Because at that time I didn't know how am I going to end this novel, but it worked. It seemed to flow, and it was like everything was woven together. So it's like the characters take their own life. Even if you create them, they start talking to you and they tell you, this is the direction I want to go to.
Ang galing naman. So
I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but
ang galing, ang galing. So do you think a writer is born or made?
I would say born, but it doesn't mean that you can't enhance your skills, right? Doesn't mean that you can't create them, you know.
And
but we're all
that's
born
why
with
you knew
talents.
early on that
I knew.
you were
I
born
won
to write.
when I was 3rd grade. I won